Welcome to the White Sox Recap Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey alongside my guy, Brian Anderson. This episode, we are going to give final grades to the 2025 White Sox rookie class. And there's a boatload to give out, a full 9 players that we are going to discuss. Remember, we did this right around the halfway point of the season. We sent the progress report home, and now it's time for the final grades to be dispersed. It's a tease, BA. But what's your quick thoughts? How harsh are you going to be?
I have to. The best in the business, and A++ is a Shohei Ohtani. So get ready.
Oh, boy. We're judging everybody against Shohei Ohtani. This could be a long debate on this edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast, and it starts right now. All right, Brian Anderson.
What's up, bud?
The 2025 season. Last week on the podcast, we went through our season predictions podcast, and you took home the bait. You brought in lunch for me today, and you didn't realize that I owe you lunch or dinner,
be honest,
or whatever we're giving. Yeah,
I brought in my leftovers from Greek Feast because they're awesome, but they gave me so much food. I was like, I'm going to bring this in and make Guff think that I brought it just for him, but it was just my leftovers.
And then Katie destroyed it in front of me. So I grabbed it and it was only bone, but yeah, you took home, you took home the quote unquote title by getting, I think, 4 season predictions right.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't great, but 4, you got close to the 63 wins that you were projecting. 60 wins. Today, we are going to give out final grades to the White Sox rookie class. So if you didn't hear the progress report edition, you got to go about, 10 to 12 episodes back from here and listen to our midterm projections and grades for some of the White Sox rookies. So I have all of those. I went back and listened, dissected what we said then. I'm going to give you this caveat before we get into players. Did you realize that 3 of the top 4 players in WAR for the White Sox were rookies this year?
If I may,
you are allowed
this
to
just in, Guff. They stink. Okay, like I love those guys.
You had a lot of vet. You had the Roberts, the Benattendis, the Talkmans, the
rookies carried them, man.
Martin Perez obviously was on the shelf, but that's a good. I was adamant that at the end of 2025, you needed to know exactly who a lot of these guys were. And I do feel if Chris Getz was sitting right here right now, I do feel Chris Getz would tell you that they feel like they have a pretty good understanding of who maybe these 9 guys that we're going to go over, maybe 10 to 12 guys. I think that they have an understanding of where they're going to be. You know that Colson Montgomery is a middle-of-the-order lineup guy now that you can build around.
There's no doubt. I mean, if we're having a show and we get Getsy on here and we ask him, how do you feel? Grade you the way you feel 1 through or A through F, right? On just the rookies, he's going to be like B+, A-. He's going to be.
You think it'll be that high?
Oh yeah. I mean, the core. It's not just the players and their performance. I mean, I'm going to be tough on him because I'm going to be grading him against a Kyle Schwarber power against like another left-handed hitter. But
is that fair?
Yes, it is, because you have to play against those guys. It's not like the D League, right? Or the G League and whatever it's called in the WNBA. You're not like, man, our rookies are sick. They get to go down and play against all the other rookies today. They got to go play against LeBron and like the king shit. All
right, so let's go over this because I may push back on you a little bit.
That's why we're here.
I'm okay. I'm not going to push back on you in those beautiful glasses you're wearing because your lovely daughter was begging you to wear those on the podcast.
She's got the same pair and she likes them. She's going to get it.
And her and I share a birthday, so there's nothing I don't like about her. We're going to start with the pitchers, and there's a couple of just outstanding stories on the pitching staff. Grant Taylor is who we're going to start with. We gave him an incomplete at the time.
Sure.
He had just got called up. He was going to be the de facto late inning 100-mile-an-hour plus guy. He finished 2-4 with a 4.91. The whip is what concerned me, 1.418. He had a 5.31 ERA in the second half. He did have the 54 strikeouts and 36 in 2/3. They kind of shut him down late in the year. I felt like it was a project the entire time with Grant Taylor. What is your grade for Grant Taylor?
I give him a C. And I give him a C because I'm a fan. I think we touched on several different times. He's got that like invisible. Now I say invisible. He throws that one plain fastball that starts low, and a lot of hitters are going to give up on it. But because it's 97 to 100, it's going to stay at the knees, and he's going to steal a lot of strikes, and he'll probably freeze a lot of guys thinking it's ball 4 and 3-2 counts. So he has a lot to work on. That whip, you said 1.41. It is across the board. The general rule of thumb with a major league arm is you want to keep that whip around 1. Walks and hits per innings pitch. If you can every pitcher that has that thing hovering around a 1, I promise you is having a good year.
So you're going C?
Yeah.
Maybe I will be a little harsher. I'm going D+. All
right.
And it might be unfair, and I'm okay with that because he was a starter turned reliever. They wanted to save some of his innings going forward. I don't know what the long-term plan on Grant Taylor is going to be because the fastball is plus. And when everything's working and the off-speed's working, he's elite. Or can be. Talent can be elite. How about that? But the walks were an issue. He was getting hit around. I don't know if tiring was an issue. I'm curious to see once the new pitching coach comes in and Bannister gets his hands on him in the offseason, what he turns into and what the long-term plan is. I guess my expectations, there was so much talk about him in spring training, about closing and all this stuff, that when he came up, it just kind of, it never was right to me. So I'm going to go D+, and I'm going to live with that grade.
Hey, can we finish with this? And I'm sure this comment's going to come back to bite me in the ass, especially season 2 of our podcast. But can we curb the whole, like, well, he used to be a starter or was a reliever and now he's stretching him out? It's like a position player doesn't get to do that. Like if they take an Andrew Vaughn and he's a left fielder or third baseman,
never heard of him,
and they stick him at first base, or I played center. My first game was in right. It's like, dude, you're in the fucking big leagues. Like, figure it out. Like, if you can pitch, you can pitch. If you can hit, you can hit. If you can play the outfield, you can play the outfield. Is there a little bit of a learning curve? Sure. But if you listen, Chris Carpenter, old pitcher with the St. Louis Cardinals, told one of my best friends, Chris Duncan, rest in peace. He said, Chris, you don't have to go play, man. If you're injured, you're injured. But if you step foot on that fucking field, you take responsibilities. Not like, don't play like shit and then say, oh, well, my knee was hurting. Well, your knee was hurting before the game. If you say, yes, coach, I can pitch out of the pen, or yes, coach, I can start, then you better be able to fucking start.
Okay, touche. Sean Burke was the White Sox surprise opening day starter. And for those of you, he was a rookie. He had 19 innings pitched going into this season. He was a rookie in 2025. Finished 4-11 with a 4.29, a more respectable ERA, I think, towards the end of the season. He came around a little bit. Walks were an issue for him. At one point, he led the majors in walks. He did curtail that a little bit to finish right around 15th or so. Talked about whip. His was higher than Taylor's, 134 in a third innings pitch, 1.452 on the whip. Away from home, 0-6 with a 4.74. You want your guys to be guys both home and away. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a young guy. Obviously, many of these guys are. I don't really care about the record as much. The records aren't going to be pretty for most of these guys. The ERA is, you can live with a 4.29. What did you see from Sean Burke, and what grade do you give him?
I'm going to give him a C as well, only because I look towards Berkey having a huge bounce back year for the Sox in 26. I think he's got 3+ pitches. He's got to cut down on the walks, but I really enjoy watching him pitch. And it's only human nature. You're an athlete. I'm an athlete. It's only human nature to look at a guy and go, man, like I would rather face a Taylor than a Burke, because Burke's got too much stuff going on, and that would give me problems if he's on. But I'll take the 97, 98 mile an hour heater with a hook as opposed to heavy sink, cut, the sweeper, a curveball, a changeup, things like that. So I'm looking for him to have a huge bounce back here. I don't think the ERA was terrible. He's got to cut down on the whip. The whip's too high. But if he cuts down on the walks, I mean, he's a number 3 starter all day long for the Sox in 26.
I also have C. I think he was right around average. There were times he was very below average. They tried a few times to give him an opener. They did send him down late in the year, which I liked. This is what I liked about this team a lot this year, was when they called guys up, they weren't afraid to send guys down, a la Andrew Vaughn. And I think it did make a difference. We can get into Colson Montgomery in a little bit. I just do think, though, at the end of the day, he was kind of average. And I don't know long-term what Sean Burke is. I don't. I think I've learned that the White Sox have 2 starters for sure going forward. Burke is probably that guy that can flirt with himself being a solid number 4, I think, but we will see. We will see. I do not believe he will be the opening day starter in 2026. That guy will be talked about here shortly.
Really?
Two Rule 5 guys on the roster that were just flat out fantastic, honestly, from opening day till end of season. One of them being Mike Vassell. You gave him an A- at the halfway point. He finished 5-3 with a 2.50, threw over 100 innings out of the bullpen. He did have a couple of starts, a WAR that hovered around 3 all season. This guy has a chance to be a real weapon for the White Sox going forward, depending on where they want to go. I talked about at the progress report edition that I had talked to some White Sox people about his prognosis as a starter long-term. There was some thought of that. I think he's too valuable in the bullpen, to be honest with you, from what I saw. What do you give Mike Vassell?
I'm going to give him a B. And I'll tell you, I love that guy, and I like him in the bullpen because, as you know, speaking of guys we talk about that were fearless, that would come out of the bullpen and just shove, they all have the same mentality. Like a Bobby Jinks is who, like the upper echelon A-plus closer, right? Throwing 100 with a 96 mile an hour cutter and an 88 mile an hour curveball, but it's his makeup, right? And Vassell's that guy. And you look at even a guy like Cliff Polite from my era. Cliff Polite, all 5'7" of them, love him to death, but he was also a bulldog, man. You got to have killers that come out of there, and it's the fearlessness that's going to make him, I think, be really, really impactful. If I'm Chris Getz, I keep him in the bullpen for 2026.
He was 4-3 with a 2.47 in the first half, 1-0 with a 2.54 in the second half. Really just the model of consistency. I'd like we've said a lot about a lot of these guys, the walks to get cut down a little bit. I'm giving him an A-. Just
nice.
The fact that he was a Rule 5, somebody else's cast off. He was the one guy the White Sox had in the bullpen that they could truly turn to and go, I think we can get at least an inning or two of stoppage here.
Yeah.
And I love the emotion. He loved his personality is infectious. He's in front of the camera a lot with the White Sox social media group. That's not why you keep a guy around, but you do because of what he did on the field. Mike Vassell, a hell of a find for Chris Getz and company in the Rule 5. So I'm giving him an A-. I have a couple of A's to give. A's. A- is an A. Couple of A's to give out. The next one's the most obvious probably pick that we have in the entire group of the 9. And I'm curious, actually, after you giving Vassell a B, where you're going with Shane Smith. I said at the time, and I believe it now, one of the best stories in baseball no one's going to talk about. Shane Smith's season was fantastic. When we did this at the halfway point, he was about to be named an all-star. He was trending down, actually, if you remember. He had 3 straight kind of spotty starts, got his ERA up in the 4s. He was named an all-star. Shane Smith finished 7-8 with a 3.81, led the White Sox in innings pitched, strikeouts, and wins. There's nobody out there that would have ever predicted that at the beginning of the season. Maybe Shane Smith himself. But here's what, to me, stands out about Shane Smith. I thought he got better as the season went on.
Yeah. No
I
doubt.
thought we were going to see that guy had a great first half, and then you're going to look at that guy had a 4.95 ERA and was an all-star. In the second half, he was 4-1 with a 3.17.
Tough to do in the American League,
and
too.
In one of his last starts, he shoved with 8 strikeouts at Yankee Stadium. Shane Smith, I'm going to jump you here, is a flat-out solid A, and he might even be an A+. That's hard to give those out, but Shane Smith, folks, is the White Sox opening day starter in 2026. Breaking news on that one. That is as good of a find and a story that the Chris Getz in the front office could have absolutely projected.
No, you're right there. I give him an A-. And again, I only give him an A- because of the little bit of a slight hiccup in the first half towards the end there. But again, I stick with that A as well because, he battled that neck. He had that freak injury for a bit there, didn't he? I mean, you're coming back from that. You're on a terrible team. It's tough to stay up and stay locked in. So for that, I commend him. He deserves an A. I'm going to give him an A- only to hold his feet to the fire. I hope he sees this and he gets to go out there and say, screw Brian Anderson. He stunk. I'm going to be an A+ next year.
Yeah, he's been waiting for this podcast to come out, so he's just been pacing around.
He's sitting at home. He texts me. He's like, hurry up and post it, Guff.
Yeah, I know. It's like, let's get this thing done. So look at me, Shane. That's an A or an A+, buddy. I'm happy to give you a 98 or above because you were that good for the Chicago White Sox all season. That's the final grades for our pitching staff. I put Wickelman Gonzalez down there. I'm calling it an incomplete. He had a 266 in 20 games. There are things to like about him. What I love about it is he's the 4th guy in the Garrett Crochet trade, and he made an appearance this year.
Let's put a question mark. Let's curb that one. But I'll tell you this much. I think we both were texting each other when we saw him. I saw him on TV. You might have been at the game, but I was watching him. He came out of the pen. It was like boom, boom, boom. It was slider, pitching backwards, throwing the breaking ball for strikes, landing it early, throwing it behind in the count, and then throwing that 96 miles an hour. And he's got a little funk. And his name is Winkleman. I mean, if you're good at that my comp for him is Ben Roethlisberger. I remember when Ben Roethlisberger
that's your comp.
Yeah,
Winkleman Gonzalez.
When Ben Roethlisberger was drafted out of Miami of Ohio, I'm like, this guy will never be good because like you got the Troy Aikmans and John Elways and Dan Marino and Tom Brady. I'm like, this guy, how can you be good with a name like Roethlisberger? He ends up being the all-time greatest quarterback in Steelers history.
Without a doubt.
Terry Bradshaw, but
yeah, without a doubt.
But so that's my comp for him. You need to be good with a name like Wink Hellman.
All right, time to go to the offensive end. Okay, there's some fun names in here. Clearly, Colson Montgomery's story. We'll get to Colson.
Let's save that one for last.
We'll tease.
You like to jump on the wagon.
We'll tease the fact of Colson Montgomery. Let's start here at the bottom because he was part of the progress reports. And at the time, his name was hot. And you were like, I love this guy. He's more than just a power hitter. He's a hitter.
I'm looking this up just so I back up my story.
Tim Elko is the name of the player that I'm talking about. A negative 0.5 WAR, 134, 194, 328. He had 30 strikeouts and 67 at-bats. Limited sample size, 4 homers, 8 RBI, was on the shuttle back and forth from Chicago to Charlotte. We gave him C's or C pluses at the time of the progress report. Where are you on Tim Elko?
I'm going to give him a D minus. I just because I can't do my boy dirty with an F plus. There's no such thing. You're either pregnant or you're not. If you fail, you fail. So I love the kid. I don't think his time is done with the White Sox. I think they're going to give him a fresh start in spring training. I'm telling you, Guff. That kid can hit to all fields, hit all pitches. I think he's just got to stay in the middle of the field. I noticed a lot. You put a lot of pressure on yourselves. I've been there before. When you get that call up or you're an up and down guy and there's no guarantee of tomorrow, you're always trying to do something to get the crowd going, hit a big home run, or you're always trying to impress the coaching staff. And, a consistent big leaguer goes out there and just focuses on the task at hand. So I really look forward to him in spring training, staying in the middle of the field, hammering that fastball and just being Tim Elko, man. Like it's okay to hit 250 with 180 punches. Just hit 250 with 30 and 75 ribbies, man. You'll play for 15 years.
So we're grading these guys on their major league. Okay. Major league rookie.
I said D minus.
You did say D minus.
It's not good.
That's fine.
I was a D my rookie year. I gave myself a D.
Would you like a point counterpoint here, or do you want to just take the rest of the I mean,
hey, so go get some lunch. I got it from here.
Tim Elko in 96 games in Charlotte. It's 292 with a 357 and a 552 slug. He had a 910 OPS, 26 bombs, 70 RBIs, 19 doubles. Okay. I gave you the slash line here in Chicago. He did have a lot of buzz around him because of the failure of Andrew Vaughn at the time. And it just didn't work out. I'm going to give him an F.
That's messed up, man.
That's
so messed up.
You're the one who said you're going to come in hot. You're letting feelings get in the way.
I am, because guess who's not coming on the show now?
That's fine.
No,
I asked for
he's
him.
Coming on.
I asked for him 3 times.
Yeah, because you asked.
So
okay.
like Troy Aikman, I'm holding grudges. Okay, so Tim Elko it didn't work at the major league level this year. I'm not saying that they're done with him. I do, and I said this at the time, I did think that he was more of a part of the immediate future than the long-term future with a lot of these other guys we're going to talk about. When he came up here, it was almost an automatic out in the limited sample size of 20-plus games he was here. So Tim Elko goes from C at the time to F for me, D minus for you. Sounds like a parent's getting called either way.
Yeah, either way, man, you're going to summer school.
Yeah, sounds like a parent's getting called either way. All right. Time for some of the big names, some of the fun names. Let's go with Edgar Caro. I know a guy that you hold near and dear to your heart. Edgar Caro, model of consistency for the White Sox. 1.2 WAR, 5 homers, 36 ribbies, 268, 333, 356, a 689 OPS, a 94 OPS plus. He did tied for the lead in majors with 5 pickoffs, and it was the first White Sox to do that in a boatload of years. Yep. That's where we are in Edgar Caro. What do you got? By the way, I should add, at the time, Edgar Caro did not have a home run when we graded the first time.
Point counterpoint. Oh no. So listen, I'm going to be a little tougher on him because again, I have huge expectations for this kid. Switch hitting catcher. I've comped him to a smaller version of Victor Martinez, who I absolutely adore. One of my top 10 best big leaguers I ever played with was Victor Martinez. But B-, it is so hard as a rookie to command the pitching staff, an overall bad one at that. And to be able to go out there every single day, catch, have the confidence to backpick at third base, throw guys out, that takes a lot of stones, man. So I think the White Sox are in good shape with him and Teal in the pocket there, and they have some options. Maybe they might go get a veteran guy just as a stopgap, just in case, an injury or something in AAA. But Edgar Caro, with the way he can, bat to ball skills, he's never going to hit 30 home runs, but 275, 280 with 10 to 15 and catch every day. That's Victor Martinez rolled up in a nice little ball there, a little bow.
So what's your grade?
B-.
A B- on Edgar
He's
Caro.
got so much more in the tank. That's why.
So for those of you who love the catcher framing metrics, he's last in all qualified catchers. He's 57th out of 57, -13 in catcher framing runs. Some people want to know what that
It's
means.
the pitcher's fault.
It's the pitcher's fault. Ethan Katz got fired. I mean, somebody had,
Thanks, Edgar.
Yeah.
New guy.
But if you look at what I always love about that, though, is when you go to the top and you look at the names, who do you think the catcher framing runs leaders are? They're guys that have been in the league for a long time. Alejandro Kirk, Austin Wells, Austin Hedges, Cal Raleigh. These are guys who are veterans who have to learn how to get there. Even Reese McGuire is up there from the old White Sox, now Cub. JT Realmuto, he's at the bottom. Is that going to cost him money? I doubt it. Offensively, I said at the time, if we can get like a 10 homer, 30 double type guy, I'd be fine with
That's your guy.
Edgar Caro. I'm curious as to how Edgar Caro and Kyle Teal are going to coexist going forward, but I think that Kyle Teal's more athletic and could probably find a corner outfield spot.
FIO, dude. Figure it out.
Figure it out. It's the first time
Not
they've
a
had
problem.
to figure out a catcher in a long time.
Yeah.
He was clutch in a lot of different at a lot of different times. When you look at the final stat line, you're like below 700 OPS, below league average at the plate, but he's 1.2. You put it all in the blender. I thought he was a really good player for the White Sox this year.
I think he's got a lot more in the tank too. I think
I'm going to say C+,
All
like
right.
above average. Okay, C+ is above average because I think there is more. And the one thing I want to be really fair on is the fact that he's 22.
No, exactly.
22 years old. And a C+, I think it's okay to hold the standard that you liked a lot, but now it's time to take a step. I want to see OPSs in the 750s and OPS pluses in the 110 plus category and to get better as a better catcher. But Edgar Caro came up early, him and Chase Mydroth, and they were really good and consistent, and he was clutch much of the year.
No, I mean, I agree. He's going to be really exciting. I think by this time next year, we're going to be having a complete different conversation as far as like the White Sox will be better. He'll have a better year. The staff will be better, and you're going to be a lot happier, and you won't be MFing him every game on Twitter.
Wow, I'm pretty sure if you went back and looked at my Twitter,
You're an MFer on Twitter. You like to MF.
I'm such a I'm an
You frick with Twitter. You frick with X, dude.
I am a huge, I'm
You're a fricker.
Huge dropping up on the Edgar Caro type guy. All right, we mentioned the guy that he came up with, Chase Mydroth. You know how I feel about Chase Mydroth.
Can you go first? Can you go point this time, and I'll go counterpoint?
Chase Mydroth, 1.2 WAR player as well, 5 homers, 23 RBI. At the time we did the progress report, you were unhappy that he didn't have at least 20 RBI. And he had 23 for the season. As many homers as Edgar Caro, 5, 253, 329, 320. They both, it was a tick down from Edgar Caro. He had a couple of cold stretches, 649 OPS, 84. But I look at the type of player that Chase is, and he just is everything they haven't had for a long time.
Sure.
Okay.
Are you saying the type of player you want him to be, or we hope he's going to be, or the type of player he is as of today?
The type of player he showed he can be for
Okay.
probably at least half the season.
Fair enough.
Okay. He definitely had times where the roller coaster was bottomed out. But I think that Chase Mydroth in his rookie year, okay, 450 ABs. I wanted to give you his half splits here. Second half, he actually was better in the second half because he dipped in early, like late June, early July. In July, he hit 220 with a homer and 5 RBIs. But he was pretty consistent across the board, played almost as many games at second as he did at short. Obviously with Colson Montgomery, he can, to me, and Lenine Sosa to me is no more than a DH. He had a higher WAR than Lenine Sosa's 22 bombs, by the way.
Yeah, no.
I want to go on like Chase Mydroth, more valuable in the field. I'm giving him a B-, a tick above Edgar Carroll, because I think when this team actually is ready to win, which we can argue depending on what they do this offseason, maybe in the Central they can flirt with a wild card spot, depending on what they do. He's the type of player you need to make it happen.
So would you give him?
A B-.
I gave him a C+. I think we're right there. And my only thing is, because I have like Carroll, I have a high expectation for him. So Chase, if you're listening to this, you're not a C player. You're going to be, you could be a perennial all-star, man. You have the chance to play for 10 to 15 years, but we need, if you're not going to hit a ton of homers and you're not going to drive in a ton of runs, you got to get the batting average up there. You want to be in 270 to 300. He's capable of doing that. He's got good enough bat to ball skills. His versatility in the infield give the White Sox options, and he's exciting, right? He cares about baseball, and that's one thing I like about him, his locker room presence. By year 4 or 5, he's going to be commanding that locker room, and he's going to be holding guys accountable, or even next year. But again, I picture him being a 275, 300 with 10 homers. I think he's got enough in him to go and believe in himself and go get it. In fact, I compared him. My comp for him was Mark Ellis. Remember?
Yep.
Mark Ellis, man.
Really good player.
Go look up Mark Ellis, Chase,
Really
and that's your guy, man. Go play for 15 years, hit 275, 280, hit 12 to 15 homers, and be an all-star, man. Like you're that good.
All right. Kyle Teal, at the time when he came up, we gave him an incomplete. He had only had 20-something at-bats or so, and then he came, so he had 16 games in June, 16 in July, and then he took off a little bit more in the second half. Kyle Teal is going to be one of those guys from an offensive standpoint that you're going to expect more from than you are Edgar Carroll and Chase Mydroth. He was almost a 2 WAR player, BA, 8 home runs, 35 RBI. So he had almost as many RBI as Carroll in limited sample size, 273, 375 on base, 411 slug, a 786 OPS, 121 OPS plus. Showed a lot in the second half. In the second half, 53 games played, a 288, 376, 457 slug. That was good for an 833 OPS, 8 bombs, 29 ribbies, 7 doubles in the second half. I think there's a lot to come for Kyle Teal. I don't know where you hit him just yet, depending on what they do this offseason, but it certainly feels like he should be somewhere in the 5 or 2 conversation. I agree with that. Kyle Teal, 2025 grades.
You want me to go first? I'm going to give him a B-.
Okay.
And I like him too. I think he's going to have a huge upside. You know, the great part about these White Sox players we're talking about, you know, a guy like Chase Mydroth's going to have to grind it out. You know, he doesn't have the size and the power that Kyle Teal has, but I think Kyle Teal, man, he's one of those dudes. If he gets hot in April, you know, look out. He could have the type of second half that Colson Montgomery had. So again, a lot to be excited about with him. I think the White Sox have a really good problem. They're going to be able to platoon both him and Carroll behind the plate, you know, stick one of them left, DH, however you want to piece it together, figure it out. But really exciting player to watch.
What I loved about that on base percentage, 375 at the big leagues, 394 down in Charlotte. I'm giving Kyle Teal a B+.
Yikes.
Because his second half was not talked about because of what Colson Montgomery was doing. That guy was an offensive weapon for the Chicago White Sox night in and night out. It was just a tick under the production that Colson Montgomery was giving you. And I think, to me, the reason I'm giving him a B+ is because he's shown the type of offensive player that he's capable of being. And now I personally am going to carry that into an expectation that I could label him. We both threw up a 2 or a 5 when we were doing the lineup.
Yeah.
If you're putting him in the 2 or the 5, if you're putting him in the 2, the expectation is
sure
he's going to be an 800+.
I like a Mydroth, you know, in hindsight, you know, depending on Luis Robert, depending on Benintendi, because and I know there's a sidetrack here, but you got Benintendi, he comes back next year, man. Like, let's not sleep on him. If he gets hot, he could carry an offense for a while, but no, but this is what I'm saying.
Sorry, I slept on.
But in a perfect world, I love a Mydroth Carroll, you know, whoever in that 3-hole, Colson possibly, or Colson the 4-hole, Teal. You know, I don't want to bring up Luis Robert or Voldemort again, but if he's going to be there, if he's healthy, he should be. Luis Robert should be hitting in the 3-hole in the major leagues. If he's not, he shouldn't be playing. He's that good. So there's your first 5 hitters right there. So the White Sox lineup, looks pretty good.
Maybe there's a name that we don't know about yet. That's going to be
Roberto Lape. I'm sorry.
You did it.
La Pantera. Like. He played half the games. Get your nickname out of here.
What's the Spanish term for injured panther?
It's called beat it.
All right. What a tease. We built it all up for this. Colson Montgomery. What a story in the second half. July 4th was his major league debut at Colorado. 239, 311, 529 slug. Of course, the 21 bombs were amongst the league leaders in the second half. It was good for an 840 OPS, a 130 OPS plus. His story, we've talked about it at length. They basically took a timeout on his season and said, your swing's broken. I think when you go back and look at the season, I'd like to ask Colson this now, that there's maybe a month from now when he's had a little bit more time to process the season. What kind of pressure did he put on himself after not making the team out of spring training, that he had to go down there and be something that maybe he was not capable of being? We were looking at the box scores. He was 1 for 5 with 4 Ks, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Night in and night out. They took a timeout. They sent him to Arizona. I've never seen anything like it. I've asked you about it. He came back. I was like, holy shit, this guy is so lost and broken. Is he fixable again? He came back, did it at Charlotte, got promoted right before the All-Star game, and became a name people talked about around the league.
You know, yeah, I mean, before we get in the grading, I think the White Sox should be commended. It takes a lot of stones. I think that there's a lot of stock to be put in that because they're able to take like the Hagen Smiths and shut him down, or maybe send him to work on some mechanical things. It's not like you got to go out there and pitch. You have 4 more days, you're back on the mound. So this lets people know, be patient. There is time. We're not in the big leagues yet. So the fact they sent him back, the adversity he dealt with, for dealing with adversity he dealt with, he deserves an A+. So let's be crystal clear on that. But again, I'm going to give him a B. I'm going to raise it to a B for one reason, or 2 reasons. Hey, point counterpoint. No. So for a couple reasons, we've been over this before. There's zero pressure to play well in the White Sox this year. They stink. They stunk last year. Like, it's a free for all.
But that's not an excuse.
It's not his fault. No. But what I mean is, I know this kid, he has greatness in him, and he was great in the second half. But the things is, I'm going to be hard on him, is he hit 230, I'll call it 240. 240 is not a great batting average. He needs to be able to play shortstop every day at a high level, and he needs to be there opening day, whenever that is, end of March, early April next year. I want to see what he does when it's butt freaking cold out. It's a jammed house, the first series, because the White Sox fans are going to show up. You need to go out there and you need to do it from day one. Because believe me, believe me, Colson, I'm a huge fan, but you don't think I would have loved to my rookie year after won the World Series when I was hitting 180 and I was getting my ass handed to him, be like, can I go to Arizona? And just like, maybe they're like, no,
yeah, but you got to hang on for a second.
Leagues, bro. You're like, figure it out.
But hang on for a second. There's not a lot of guys that could have the mental or the testicular fortitude to be sent to Arizona and work on it and then take it back and apply it.
There's no doubt. And I guess he gets an A++ for dealing with adversity, because that's embarrassing. I mean, he knows, we all know about it, but man, did he have the last laugh. But again, I'm giving him a B, because I think that, I will be his biggest fan come, All-Star break next year. If he's 270 with 18 homers, 20 homers, playing good shortstop, the White Sox are cruising, I'm going to be A. I'll wear a shirt that has an A on it. I'll get a custom shirt made.
I'm going to challenge you again. Okay. Here are the guys that had more home runs than Colson Montgomery after the All-Star break: Kyle Schwarber, Shohei Ohtani, Junior Caminero, and Cal Raleigh.
And how many did Kyle Schwarber have total?
Kyle Schwarber had 56 total.
Okay, and what
Cal Raleigh had 60.
When was Kyle Schwarber's first game this year? What, March 20? Yeah,
March 28th.
9th, yeah, exactly.
Okay, here, I'm going to push back on this. You keep talking about the batting average. Do you know what Colson Montgomery hit in the second half? 238, which is what his 239 average.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber hit 230. Cal Raleigh hit 229. They both have MVP votes. Both played deep into the postseason. Why?
I think Colson, I think he's a better hitter than that. I think he's going to be a 275, 280 hitter.
Now that's fair.
Yeah.
But what if he's 252? Because I honestly thought he was a 25 with maybe at a peak 30 home run player. I did.
Shit.
Now I think he's got 40 homer potential.
Yeah.
He clearly has the potential. I think he has a chance to be 35, 40. I don't give a shit. Like, the batting average doesn't mean much to me if his slug is in the 500s.
Sure. But I told you, I will have a t-shirt made with a capital A on it with Colson on there on the front. But as you know, it just hits different, man. When you take that field in April and it's freezing and there's no escaping, it's like, dude, you go out there and hit 5 homers your first month and you're hitting 280. I'm like, this guy's the real deal. But you need to see it in early April.
All right, so he's getting an A for me because of everything we talked about. You said the A++, the ability to be able to handle what he did, and at the end of the year to be on a list with Schwarber, Ohtani, Caminero, Cal Raleigh, and Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton. That's a flipping A, dude. It's 3.3 WAR player. I know it's not all about WAR. Defensively, he actually looked pretty good too. He impressed
me.
You did a lot of games at CHSN.
Yeah.
I plug and play him at short. He does feel like, from a look standpoint, that he's a third baseman long term.
He can move, but he surprises you. He's the shortstop. And again, who cares? Because I don't give a shit if a guy plays short, second, or third. If you take a guy like Colson Montgomery and one day, like, let's just say he needs a breather, that you can put Chase over there, there's options, and it's nice to have options.
So you're giving him a B still?
Yeah. Because listen, I got high expectations. I've been raising the bar, okay?
Well, I'm okay with raising the bar. You better raise it next year, though.
Yeah, I believe
you better be consistent. Don't hide behind a Tim Elko D- because you got feelings. Because you got feelings.
I'm so hurt.
I can't believe I gave more D's and F's than you did.
I'm so hurt by that.
I'm just saying. Just the professor right here. You did give B's to people who had. I mean, would you give Shane Smith a B+?
A-. Okay. I just think because he didn't have an elite year all year, but I think he can.
All right. So those are the final good report cards. Solid.
Great.
Some criticism, but there's a lot. Let's be honest though. Like as we wrap this thing up, if we would have sat here 6 months ago and said, like, here are some of the numbers you're going to get from these guys, and here are the grades you're going to give them. Are you surprised in October that we have handed these type of grades out to these guys?
No, I'm definitely surprised. I thought a lot of them dealt with some adversity. They're still a bad team, but I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, me too. I think there's going to be a lot to love. And we didn't even talk about the Schultz. Like next year, we'll do Schultz and Hagen Smith and Braden Montgomery. And free agent podcast. Those are coming soon too.
Hagen Smith will be in the big leagues next year. You better put a bow on that.
Put a bow on that. Season 2. That will start. Season 2 begins.
He's breaking. Put this in the main. We will talk about this. Hagen Smith is breaking camp on the White Sox roster.
Bold prediction. SinusandSnoringMD.com. You see it on the screen for those of you who are watching. Did you realize that fall allergies are in full swing?
I know because I have them.
Yeah, ragweed, mold, dust can trigger congestion. It does with me every day because that's what happens when you get old. Cold, dry air makes sinus problems worse. Pressure, headaches, stuffy nose. We got a cure for you. This guy snores. I've been trying to get him to SinusandSnoringMD.com for quite some time. Cap went there. They have locations in Oak Creek, Kenosha, Mount Prospect, Lombard, plus monthly Elgin pop-ups. They treat patients like family with care before, during, and after treatment. Go to SinusandSnoringMD.com. Your partner will be happy. You'll be happy. And the relief you need is right there. Call today, 847-886-0875. Sinus and Snoring MD. Breathe and sleep better. Let's go. Brian Anderson. Really good stuff, dude.
That was great.
That's us putting a bow on the 2025 season.
Is it still point counterpoint?
That's what you get every week on the White Sox Recap Podcast. Point, counterpoint, however way you spin it. That's how it works. Thank you for watching here on YouTube. And for those of you listening audio only, wherever you get your podcast, we're here for you always. If you haven't already subscribed to the recap, make sure you do that. Become a member today. There's membership perks now. You can become a member behind the scenes. There's giveaways, special Q&A, special events that are just for you. Click join and go to the membership platform of the recap, and we'll happily take you on board. It's just $2.99 a month. Come on. You're giving money away to crazier stuff than $2.99 a month. Make sure you subscribe, click the notification, so every time we do a podcast, breaking news, etc., you get the notification that there's a new White Sox Recap Podcast for you. For BA, I'm Guff. We'll see you next time on the White Sox Recap Podcast.